today we are doing our Snickerdoodle lab. We will be using the ground cinnamon that you toasted and ground the other day as part of our mise en place for this recipe. So starting off with our ingredients, we have our dry ingredients. We have our half cup plus 3 tablespoons of flour, which I've already measured out everything. We have a pinch of salt, so you don't need a ton. This is kind of a savory part of this baking recipe. Just a pinch of salt, you don't need a lot. And then we have our baking powder, which again is a leavening agent. We've talked about this throughout the semester. The leavening agent is what helps the cookies actually rise so they're kind of fluffy. For our wet ingredients, we have 1 egg, we have our butter, our sugar should be over here, and we have our vanilla. Alright, so I'm going to start by combining our dry ingredients. We have our flour, our salt, our pinch of salt, some people think it's kind of weird to have salt in cookies, but remember, salt is kind of an ingredient that helps bring out the other flavors in the cookies. So you're not going to taste as salty. Okay, then we have our baking powder, which is going to help our cookies rise. We're just going to whisk these together, mix them all up. These are good to go. Clean up, throw the bags away as we go. Alright, next we'll move on to our other ingredients. In this bowl, first we're going to combine our butter and our sugar. You remember this is called the creaming method when you're creaming these two ingredients together. Depending on which classroom you're in, you might use the KitchenAid mixers for this. If not, you can just beat it by hand. Gotta make sure the butter is at room temperature. It's nice and soft. Mix it together. Here's our sugar. And then by creaming the ingredients, you're just gonna kind of move the sugar and butter around, combine them until the sugar starts sticking to the butter and it's going to become a really creamy mixture. The process is a little bit faster if you have a mixer, but it doesn't take long by hand either. If you are going to do it by hand, make sure you're using a wooden spoon, not a slotted spoon. You could use a rubber scraper, but a wooden spoon is probably the best thing for this. Just want to make sure it's combined. You don't have any patches of sugar anywhere. You want all of the sugar to be sticking to the butter. Okay. Now we're going to add our egg. When you reduce your recipe, you're only going to be using 1 egg, so that's what we have here. That away. We're going to mix our egg in with our butter and sugar until it's combined really nicely. Just beat the egg in there. Once this is combined, when it's a very smooth texture, then we're going to add in our vanilla. Try and get all of the clumps nice and smooth down. Scrape around the sides of the bowl to make sure you get all of the sugar and all of the butter. Okay. Now we're going to add in our vanilla. And once you reduce your recipe, you're going to be using 1/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla, just to give it some extra flavor. Mix that in. Okay, once that's mixed together, you're going to take your dry ingredients and very slowly you're going to start to pour some of your dry ingredients into the wet mixture. It's going to start to thicken it up and give us the dough that we need for our cookies. Oops. Don't stir too fast or else all the flour will come out. Again, you can add as much flour mixture at a time as you want. It's just a little bit easier if you do it slowly. Starting to look like cookie dough. Remember, keep scraping the sides so you don't have any clumps of flour anywhere. Okay, our last little bit of flour mixture. Starting to get a little harder to stir. Smoosh it together like that. There is our dough. This is day 1 of the Snickerdoodle lab. So after you have your dough formed and combined like this, you're going to wrap it with some plastic wrap. Just put some plastic wrap over the top. Make sure you label it. You can put a sticker on your plastic wrap. You're going to stick your bowl of dough into the fridge, and then tomorrow you'll do the second part, which is actually forming the balls and then sticking them in the oven. Welcome back to day 2 of our Snickerdoodle lab. As you can see, I already have my baking sheet prepared. I have the parchment paper on top. The parchment paper prevents the cookies from sticking to the pan. It also makes for easy cleanup. So nothing is actually on the pan. You just take off the parchment paper and you should be good to go. So this is prepared. Also, I have our dough that we made yesterday. It's been in the refrigerator. It's nice and cold. The dough is firm and sticking together. And then I also have our ground cinnamon that we toasted. Used the spice grinders to ground it up. I have the cinnamon mixed with the sugar, which is going to be the coating of our cookies, which gives it that really nice cinnamon sugar flavor. So I'm going to show you how to actually use the portion scoop and the kind of coating process, and then we'll stick the cookies in the oven and we'll be good to go. For this recipe, you are going to use a portion scoop. This makes sure that all the cookies are the exact same size. Restaurants use portion scoops, cafeterias, hospitals, any place where portions need to be exactly the same, so everyone's getting the exact same amount. Okay, so you have your portion scoop. Make a nice ball of dough. Once you have your ball of dough, you're going to roll it around in the cinnamon sugar mixture. Make sure it's coated very well so it has that nice flavor. After it's coated, it has cinnamon sugar all over it. Go ahead and place it on the baking sheet. Make sure the cookies are spaced evenly apart. After you have your ball of dough that's coated in the cinnamon sugar on your baking sheet, you're going to take a glass, take the bottom side of the glass, and just firmly press down your ball of Snickerdoodle dough. If it sticks, just go ahead and peel it off and set it down. You want to make sure that each of the Snickerdoodles are about ½ inch thick. So this is a good thickness right here. I'll show you one more. Let's take your portion scoop, scoop out your dough. You might need to round it a little bit. Just move it around in your hands like this. Place it in the coating. Make sure every side gets the mixture on top. Stick it on your baking sheet. Take your glass, flatten it down. Okay, I already had my oven preheating. It's preheating to 400 degrees. So we're going to go ahead, bring our cookies over. About 8 to 10 minutes. Make sure you keep an eye on them and check them like 4 minutes. Alright, our Snickerdoodles just came out of the oven. They've been cooling for a couple minutes. Once you take them out and they're cool, they should look like this. They should be nice and golden brown around the outside, The bottom should be nice and golden brown. They should be a nice kind of fluffy texture. And there's your snickerdoodles.